Hey everybody, good afternoon. Thank you for joining Happy Hour with Dr. Lisa. I am Dr. Lisa, your host, and I am going to talk to you guys today about all of your questions and I'm going to give you some answers about them. If you would like to ask me a question, you could do so on Podbean under Happy Hour with Dr. Lisa, or you can give me a call. The phone number is 765-205-1959. You can also send me an email at kidscanseeghosts@gmail.com. So today, I am so happy just to report that so many of you are engaged in this podcast and also on my website, and I have all of these questions coming in. I just feel so very grateful and just want to say thank you to all of you, especially to those of you who give me feedback. I like that. So, I'm very much into other people telling me how they feel, about this podcast, because it only makes me a better person. So I appreciate that. Thank you. So if you have a piece of paper, I'm going to give you all of the topics that I'm going to cover today with questions. So one of the first topics that I am going to cover is about questions that other people have for me. Including what I felt about these children's stories about their ability to see ghosts. I'm going to talk about a very popular question. You guys are going to be surprised. I mentioned it a bit last week, and I'll just say it again today. There have been a lot of questions coming at me about Ouija boards. So we're going to have to touch base about Ouija boards today. We are also going to talk about demons. We already discussed how I'm not a fan of talking about demons, but I get a lot of questions about them, and I want to respect all of you. And I want to make sure that I am addressing your concerns and questions. So we are going to cover demons today, including dark angels, which comes from my blog. And also we are going to talk about angels. So there have been quite a few comments coming in about angels. So if you are ready, I am too. Alrighty. All right. A question came in to me recently about what I believe about these children's stories. And I will tell you what I believe about these children's stories. And I think I covered this first part. Initially, I was skeptical. There isn't anything book related that I learned about, children who could see ghosts at all. All of this came to me as a surprise. I was working in several cities, and if you're keeping up with the blogs, you know those cities, and these types of children kept coming to me. So these children had some of the same stories, some of the same phobias, some of the same other fears, some of the same symptoms of mental health, and some of the same experiences, and could identify some of the same things that were identified by other children in other cities. So at some point, again, you start to put a case together, because when I was younger, I kept thinking, now why do all of these kids see all of these different things, for example, around me, and they are consistently the same? So that's what piqued my interest in these children, and also telling their stories. Now, I didn't go out and look for these children, but when they came to me, and then I would have to help them. So that's where these things originated, starting in Chicago for me. So I always use the word blessed. I've been very blessed to meet so many wonderful children. Many of them are adults now, and their parents who have helped me over the years to understand how some of these individuals are able to see ghosts. So do they really exist? That's what someone else asked me. Do ghosts really exist? And I'm going to say yes. And mind you, I answer these questions based upon what I've learned. Now, some of you may have learned things other than yes. For Dr. Lisa, that would be me. I have learned that these things do exist. Over the years, I have studied them. I have learned about them. I've even helped children, get through the fears of the ability they have. Because I think, again, I've mentioned several times that some of these things are really scary to children. And so I had to learn how to deal with those things. So, do I believe they exist? Yes. Another question that came in to me was, what does it mean when you see a ghost? What does it mean when it came down to these children? I'll just give you a visual of what it meant to them. There were lots of kids that had this ability that I dealt with, and what it looked like to them. Either these entities were dark or they were light. The dark ones scared kids, the dark ones scared adults. The light ones did not scare children. Anything that glowed white, the children believed that they were of God. Anything dark was demonic. They didn't always say demonic, but that's what they meant. Typically, the children would call them dark angels. I don't necessarily know what it meant. All I know is there were a group of children, many of them that I worked with, who can do this. To them and to their parents, sometimes they saw it as a blessing. Oh, my kid can do this. My kid can see my grandmother. My kid can see my deceased mother. My kid let me know that my aunt who passed away is okay. My kid let me know that, this aunt passed through the gates of heaven. And some of the kids could see, the dark side of their relatives. So there were different meanings for each of these experiences for kids. So over time in my blog, I start talking about, what some of these situations meant to some of these kids. And what was another attribute was that these kids could tell me what was happening to me. And that's when I started to think, okay, there's something to this, because child 17 before this one told me the same thing in the building. So over time, what it meant to me, now I'll talk about me, is that there was some truth to it. There was some truth to these stories. So a lot of us have been hearing about angels and demons and God all of our lives, and I'm one of them. But for some people, until they actually experience those things, it doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It's a lie. These kids are mentally ill, all of the negative things that you can think of to describe what kids were trying to tell them actually happened. For me, I could no longer deny this ability within them. So collectively, what that meant was that I had to find a way to help them. Okay. Sometimes when they would see entities, it also meant that they were going to predict something. So what does that mean? Because that's something that I have not talked about in my blog at all. Sometimes when they would talk to these things, I don't want to say things, these ghosts, they would tell them different things about me. They would tell them different things about themselves. They would do different things. For example, if I was doing psychological testing, they would tell them answers, which I have talked about, to different tests. So it meant a whole host of things to these kids. And it started meaning things to me as well, to the point where I had to learn how to clear the room sometimes so that I can talk to these kids without, there being any influence of any spiritual presence in the room, unless it was godly. So there were lots of stories like this coming into play. And someone had asked, were there signs? Are there signs of loved ones that have passed away? So When I was asked that question, I thought, what do they mean by signs of loved ones? And then I thought about a story that a child told me once about how, sometimes people will feel as if a bird represents a loved one that has passed away, or there'll be certain music that will play at a certain time, or there will be a flower. Butterflies were very popular. So I thought maybe that's what that person meant by asking me, are there signs of loved ones? And I have to tell you that without these children teaching me, and without some of the people that I know who have this ability, and also I give credit to some of the pastors that trained me in this, I wouldn't be able to understand or even answer some of these questions. So based upon what I've learned, you have to be careful when you think of these ghosts. And the reason that you have to be careful is because biblically, and somebody asked me about Christianity, and I'll answer that too, anything that's not an angel or God's angels that you have not asked God for, or to see, or to visit, or to protect, then it's a demon. So to be clear, a lot of what the kids were seeing when they were not of God was a demon to them. And so when you talk about different signs that loved ones can leave, you have to be careful. So you have to really know whether or not that sign is something positive, or something white according to kids, or glowing white, or something that's dark. So when I work with some of the parents too, they seem to believe that our deceased loved ones sometimes can leave different signs for us to let us know that they're okay. Personally, I have had dreams about loved ones who have passed away. So I'm kind of torn on that question. Maybe when I do write about it, some of you who know more about me with regard to signs can actually answer that on my blog. So, did I actually believe these ghost stories from children? Yes. That's been asked to me a lot in my email, and also just on different websites. Yes, I did believe them. Another question was, how did you know whether or not they were lying? And that is a great question. No one has asked me yet, were these kids telling the truth? And if they were, how did you know? Well, I just had to clap my hands, because I'll tell you how I knew whether or not they were telling the truth. It is a skill. It is a true skill that I had to learn over time. Here's how it looks. And this is not the whole story, but let me give you a snapshot of it. When I would talk to a child and start learning about this alleged, and I'm going to say that because remember, this will be a new kid for me, alleged skill. Over time, children have told me so much about this ability. For example, every single kid that I worked with told me what's guarding me. Every single child, and that's not an exaggeration, every one of them told me that there's a very tall angel that stands right behind me, or she is female, or she's in the corner watching over me. She's on me 24/7. She never leaves my side, with the exception of the time when I'm doing personal things like taking a bath or in the shower. They don't come around when you're doing personal things, but as soon as you walk out of the room and you're decent, bam, those angels are right there. Every single child talked to me about the angel in the tree, who I write about throughout the first 12 blogs. You'll see an angel in the tree every now and then. I am going to write about him again because I have other interactions with him. So when other kids would come around, new kids, and would talk about this ability, there were certain questions that I could ask, and I knew the answers without a shadow of a doubt. And you know why? Because every other child before them who had this ability told me about the same two angels, for example. So let's just say a new kid came around and I asked this kid, well, if you can see things, I completely believe you. Tell me what you see in the room. And a lot of these kids would point to the angel behind me. And I would be like, God, dog. I would just put my head down sometimes and say, that is the same angel that all the kids talk about. Which, hey, on another note, I'm happy about. I'm glad I'm guarded. But there were times that particular moment when I asked those questions, I had to use myself, because remember, when you ask me if I can see these things, the answer is no. So the only thing I had to go off of is the experiences of other children within this. So every parent, every kid who can see ghosts would always tell me about these two angels and how, for example, the angel in the tree was a jokester. He always made the kids laugh. He always told the kids jokes. He told kids jokes about me. And I haven't talked about this, but this is a specific detail that kids would tell me. I had a dog. And some of you question whether or not either ghosts enter animals, which I don't know, I have not heard about, or can angels use animals to protect you? And the answer is yes. Every single kid talked about my little precious dog. Her name was Sarabi. Sarabi was a white Maltipoo. Sarabi was my dog. There's always one dog that's yours. She was my baby. And I had her since she was 6 weeks old. And this dog stayed on me. She did not leave my side. Even in death, she did not leave me. And kids started telling me that the angel in the tree used to use Sarabi, my puppy, to guard me, because the angel in the tree wasn't allowed in my house. So the angel would have my dog guard me. And I'll tell you, if I was hidden in my house somewhere, that dog would come and find me, which it makes me sad because she died back in 2019. And I also had another dog that died in 2017. They were really old. Sarabi had become very sick. And so right when Sarabi was on her way out, ironically, a little kitten found me. And I had a feeling my dog would die because this kitten came into my life. So I've actually never been alone without a pet. And the kids would say to me, that's the angel guarding you in the house, even though there's one in there. For some reason, I guess his job, he would push the animals, or he would make the animals come and see me. So I would test kids by asking when it was appropriate, and when they shared these things with me, to talk to me about certain things that may be around me. And if it was consistent with what other kids said to me, then I would believe it. Now, when the kids wouldn't do that, I would question whether or not they were just, they weren't, I don't like to say kids lie, but that's exactly what it is. And so even in that, I never made a kid believe that, or even think, or even entertain that I didn't believe them. We just worked through, some of the challenges that they had, and I never questioned, because there's a possibility, right, that these kids could see something in a totally different way than other kids. So it was not always easy to differentiate between a kid who would tell the truth and then to weed out which ones I thought weren't being truthful. However, I was typically able to do it. At 100%, no, but as best as I could. Okay, so that ends the questions about ghost stories. If you have questions about anything in relation to my personal feelings about ghost stories, you absolutely let me know, and I will answer them. Let's move on to the bigger topic that everybody sends questions about. I think every other person wants to know about Ouija boards. And I know some of you are really young asking, because A lot of people my age in my circle won't play with Ouija boards, but let's talk about them. They have an interesting history. If you get a chance, if you want to, sit back and Google the history of Ouija boards. I Googled it years ago, and then I read a couple of things about it just to educate myself as I was working with children, who had the ability to see ghosts, because I can't see that, remember? I can't see ghosts. So it's always important when I talk to kids, to stay well versed in some of the things that they do. So at one point, I had children coming in like, oh, I went to a sleepover and we play light as a feather, stiff as a board, and we play with Ouija boards. And I remember being a teenage girl at a sleepover playing light as a feather, stiff as a board. And I remember even back then, I was like, wow. I'm not going to tell you the kind of words I used back then, but I was like, holy crap, this stuff actually works. How the heck can we levitate, a person? But if anybody wanted to play with Ouija boards, I was definitely not on board with that, because I learned a long time ago what that represents. So one of the questions that came in was, can children play with Ouija boards? Anybody can play with a Ouija board. Would I recommend anyone playing with the Ouija board? Absolutely not. Okay. Why would I not want people to play with Ouija boards? Okay, well, people get fascinated by ghosts, right? That's why you all listen. It's kind of why I started paying attention to these children. It's why I write these stories. Not a fascination with ghosts and writing the stories, but telling them their stories, because they are about their ability to see ghosts. Every time a kid talks to me about playing a Ouija board, everything stops. Everything stops. You don't know who's giving you the message. These kids always talk about the spirit world. Their parents, who can see ghosts, always talk about a veil being over the majority of our eyes. The veil meaning majority of us can't see the spiritual world that the kids talk about. So when you think about a Ouija board and you're playing with it, and it does work, from what I learned, and there's something answering your questions and you're not doing it, well, how do you know who you're talking to? You don't. And that's the same challenge with tarot cards. You don't know where you're getting that information, okay? So when you don't know where you're getting that information, you don't want to tamper with it. You don't want to open the door. What did I share with you all about Marilyn Manson? And there was a quote. Sometimes when you open the door to things that don't go away. I have seen time and time again where people have played with Ouija boards and they get really freaked out because things either change within their lives, something freaky happens when they're playing with them, or something happens afterwards that is just so frightening that they choose not to play with them anymore. So it is up to you if you allow your children to play a Ouija board. Based upon what I learned, I still have young children, 2 of them. They are not allowed to play with Ouija boards, not even at a sleepover. And so what I told my oldest daughter, I tell my middle daughter, we'll go to a sleepover and they start playing with a Ouija board, you call me and I'll come and get you. That's how serious it is to me. So every parent has to make a decision that's best with them, but mine will not be playing with a Ouija board. And I'll tell you something else I heard. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. And I have read, if you Google stories about people playing with Ouija board, this is something that you do see. This is also something that I remember child B telling me, the mother, you cannot just throw those away. You cannot just throw Ouija boards away. She believed they come back to you, and I've seen that written over and over and over again, and then you have to burn them. So you tell me what kind of game you're playing if you decide to play with one, okay? Somebody asked me, how do you build a Ouija board? I don't know. I won't be building a Ouija board, just so you know. However, I did Google that recently, and I saw that there are sites that will help you build them. I don't know why you would want to do that at all. I think before you make that decision, you need to do your homework about, what they represent and what could potentially happen if you go into the spiritual world down that dark path. So remember that before you decide to build a Ouija board. Someone asked, are we talking to demons when we talk to, yes. When you talk to Ouija boards, you're talking to demons. You guys have to remember demons can, they are manipulative. So let's get right into demons. They are manipulative. They are out to hurt you. They are not your friends. Somebody asked me, if I talk to demons, will they be my friends? There is nothing about a demon that will be your friend. Nothing, guys. Demons are not your friends. They are fallen angels. If you see a spirit, it is not of God. It is a demon. Now that's my position. The kids, however, there were a lot of the kids that would talk to ghosts. Lots, and mostly all of them would talk to them. And one of the things that I would do, because I believe that kids don't need to talk to ghosts, is that I would try to break them from talking to them, because a lot of them would talk to them, and not all, some of them would actually go out and do things based upon what those dark things, those dark angels told them to do. So they never ever are positive or good or of God, okay? You have to leave demons alone, okay? Someone asked me about possessions, demon possessions. Yes, people can be demon possessed. I learned this the hard way, okay? And the easy way. The hard way is that, have I actually seen a possession? Yes. It's something my friends don't even know. Possessions look different. Possessions can look as if they're innocent and not harming the person. They can seem extreme as what you see on TV, and just as nasty as you've seen on TV. Now that's something that I have not seen, with the vomit and things like that. I have seen kids possessed. You ever seen movies where you just look at the movie and you go, God, that kid is possessed with something. That's exactly how it looks. And it's mean, and it makes them do a lot of mean things. I've had to work through a few kids that way. Was it always successful? No. Because kids have parents and stuff like that. But I still saw the kids, okay? How to get rid of demons? That is a good question, because I want you to understand how I was able to help kids get rid of demons. Because again, demons are not a child's friend. It's not cool. It's not wise. It is not a good thing. Now, they can have this ability, to see ghosts. Nebulous children can have this ability, but everything that they see is not always good for them. So what you want to do is what worked for me, is that you want to teach them how to be demanding in prayer to remove these things from them, because it's going to keep happening because they have this ability to do it. So it's easier if the parents have a spiritual background and they're like, okay, yeah, my kid can do this. But it gets a little bit more difficult if the family is removed from religion, which I didn't care because I worked with everyone. And so at the end of the day, when these things were bothering kids so badly, I had to teach them how to do this. If you demand them to go away in God's name, they have to go. And that's documented over and over and over again. And even a Catholic priest will tell you that. If you demand these spirits to go away in God's name, they have to. Period. and that's how you get rid of them. You may have to do it again because more will come. And this is part of the reason why you don't want to play with a Ouija board. Here's a personal question somebody geared toward me. Are you scared of ghosts? Am I scared? Let me think. Yes and no. So let me tell you about an experience I just had. I went to a wedding this weekend, and I was in my hotel room, and I don't know, I woke up at about 2:30 in the morning, and I opened my eyes, and I swear I saw something in my hotel room. And mind you, again, I can't see things, but I had a feeling something like that would happen because it's happened before when I had to talk about demons and Ouija boards. And I write about it on one of my blogs. I had a dream, and it has a red and black picture on it. If you read that blog, you'll kind of understand. When I had to talk about this before, something similar to happen to me, and it's already in that blog. So I opened my eyes, and it looked like a man. A shadow of a man, like as clear as day. And I was looking at it thinking, is that a shadow of a man? And I thought about what I was going to talk about today, and I said, oh boy, okay. And I just said, in God's name, I'm demanding you to go, blah, blah, blah. I'm not scared. Went back to sleep. Okay. Now, I don't know if I was hallucinating because I told you I can't see, but damn it looked like a doggone ghost to me. And that's all I needed to see to start telling God to, it to go away. And then I didn't have any more, either hallucinations for myself, not for all these kids, but for me, because I can't see, or I was able to go back to sleep in peace. But I kid you not, that's exactly what I thought. And when I thought about it more and I talked to someone about it, I said, this kind of happened to me before when I had to talk about demons and stuff publicly. So I said, I need to better prepare myself for this next time I have to talk about it. Now, a time when I was scared. Heck yeah, there were times when I was scared. Listen, oh Lord, sometimes you get into this and there are some scary moments. There's one big scary moment that I want to talk to all of you about around October. So that was one experience that I had where my mouth dropped. The only other time right now that I can recall, other than that, and that one is really scary, but I gotta save it for Halloween because I tell the story every Halloween. So another time when I was scared, there were a couple times, but really frightened. Let me tell you, I was working in St. Louis. And I do talk about this on my blog, but for those of you who have not read the blog, I'll just tell you. And I was working on the 3rd floor of this really beautiful building. If you know what a Pink Lady building is, it almost looks like that, except, on the inside, except it was more brick than the Pink Ladies. And I have my eyes closed because it's just so freaky. I have my eyes closed right now. Let's see, it may have been Child B who left me, because that kid would fly up the steps because that child would see a little spirit boy in the building. A couple of the kids saw a little spirit boy, but you got to read the blog to understand that one. And I'm pretty sure it was Child B, because Child B would not go into our waiting room. We had a waiting room on the 1st floor, 2nd floor, and the 3rd floor. And I was on the 3rd floor. And I was in the building by myself, because I believe it may have been after 5 o'clock. I know the sun was still shining. This was in St. Louis. And the waiting room was not your typical waiting room. I keep saying family room because that's what it looked like. And it was really pretty, had all this wood trim. And so I was the last one in the building. I think my boss was off. And so, because typically I wouldn't have been the only one in the building, but I think she was off and our office manager went home. So So I had to close everything up. I always made sure things were turned off because we had a full kitchen on each floor. And the kitchen, if you can picture it, was off from the waiting room, which again looked like a family room. And it had two entrances. My office was next to the hallway entrance, not the entrance from the kitchen. And so in the hallway, I walked out of my office, made a right. As soon as I hit the door, as soon as I hit the door to that waiting room, all the toys went off. I mean, all of the toys went off. And I was very pregnant. So it's not like I could run down the steps. And I stopped. I was like, I started to shake because all the toys went off. And so, when you can't see ghosts, in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm imagining all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, it's just my imagination, whatever. So I go into the waiting room. And I turned to the right, and the toys that could move started moving. I said, oh, hell no. And I was like, okay, I gotta turn this stuff off because I don't want them to go off all night. And then we don't have toys for the kids to play with. And I'm talking like this because I have this big old belly and I am batshit scared about what's happening in that room. I said it to you like I felt it. Man, I did all that. I hightailed my behind down those steps after I got my purse, out of the door, went outside and took a deep breath and got in my car like, I can't do this anymore, meaning work here. This is getting too scary. So that was another time when I was just really freaked out. Do I get really scared? No. And there only been a few kids that have been scary. But no, I don't typically get scared. It would have to be something like that, like completely in my face for me to get frightened. Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about animals and angels. And I'm going to tie those two together because I've gotten quite a bit of questions about, Let me go back one before we talk about animals and angels. Another good question came in that asked about my paranormal experience. So I just gave you one. Let's see. I haven't written about this yet. Or maybe I have. It's about an angel that I thought was by the trash can. I'll say that for a blog. Another experience that I have is that I was downstairs in that same building, and child C, because child C came after B, so it had to be child C. And I remember this stuff like it was yesterday, I'm telling you. And I felt something shake me. Have you ever, maybe not, but I was standing there in the hallway getting this kid to come up to my office for psychotherapy, and something shook me, like touched me and shook me. You know how they say, I'm gonna shake the shit out of you. That's how it felt. And I didn't see anything, but this kid did. This kid was like, oh my God, the little spirit boy just shook you. Dr. Lisa, the little spirit boy tries to get your attention. You're not paying attention. The little spirit boy is him. He's by you. He's behind you. And I felt something go down my arm. And I laugh about it now, but I'm telling you, in that building, it was building 2. If I said 3 earlier, it's 2. In building 2, that is when all of the paranormal experiences happened for me. Now, there were some with building 1, which is where I started in building 1. But the majority of them were in building 2 and also building 3. Okay, building 3 is the one I'm going to save for Halloween. Okay, so yes, I've had paranormal experiences. I've also had dreams. If you read the blog, I've had dreams. And so, yeah, I have. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked if the person is listening. Let's see. Was it hard to deal with children that have this ability? I'm not going to say hard. I'm going to say it was outside of the box. It's definitely not something you learn in the psychology books. It is not something that your professors teach you. It is not something that you are trained to do. I think sometimes the best learning that you get is outside of the books. I've always thought that parents and children and other clients will appreciate you more if you can think outside of the box to help them, because everything is not always straightforward. So that would be my answer to that one. Tarot cards. I had an experience in college with tarot cards. Everyone wants to know if tarot cards are demonic. So let me tell you what happened to me when I was in undergrad. I had a suite mate who used to dive into demonic activity. Ooh, this is a good story. And so she always wanted to read my tarot card, I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but she always wanted to read me via her tarot cards. And I would say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. No. And, one day I said, yes, go ahead and read my tarot card. Go ahead and read me via your tarot cards. And man, she did. And I made her collect those tarot cards and get out of my room. And it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. And it's funny now, but I'll tell you why. Because when she read those tarot cards, she read my exact conversation that I had with my mom that day. I think I was mad at my mom, or she was mad at me. Whatever kind of disagreement we had, no one knew, because I didn't go around telling people, oh, my mom and I had an argument. I love my mom. And I don't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, how the heck would this person know I had an argument with my mom? And it wasn't in my room. So our rooms were connected by our bathrooms. But when this happened between my mom and I wasn't in my room. So I was like, girl, gather your cards and get the heck out of here. I don't know how you know I had an argument with my mom. I don't even know who's feeding you this information, but you have got to go. Take those out of here. Go. And so from then on, I wondered about tarot cards. And so let me just sidebar for a second. The room that was connected to us, also, I knew that she worshiped Satan. And I also knew that she had a satanic Bible. And you know how we are when we're younger. I decided that I was going to see what she was reading in the satanic Bible, because I was just like, it's just so different. Why would she do that? Back then, that was my thinking. And I was really young. And so I walked through her bathroom and went into her room, because we were walking to each other's rooms. It was no big deal, the 4 of us. And I said, oh, there's her satanic Bible. I want to see, is it really demonic? Does Satan really exist? What is this thing called Satan? Just all the questions that I had. Let me tell you, I opened up that satanic Bible, and I don't know what came over me, but I closed it probably in a matter of 5 minutes, put it down, never touched it again, walked out of the room and said, Lord Jesus, help me. I never want to touch a satanic Bible again. Whatever happened to me between those tarot cards and also her satanic Bible, Lisa was done. I would never touch those things again. Now, years later, when I was older and I started working with kids who can see ghosts, well, a lot of stuff came out. They talked to me all about Ouija boards. They also talked to me all about tarot cards. And a lot of them say the same thing. Who you are talking to on those tarot cards or wherever you're getting your information, it is not of God. And that was the position that the parents who could see ghosts and also the kids told me, that whatever you are reading, whatever you get from tarot cards, you are not getting it from anything related to God. That was all I had to learn. I never ever touched tarot cards again, the Satanic Bible, or never entertained a Ouija board. Okay? It doesn't mean you can't. I'm just sharing with you what I learned and what I decide not to do based upon what I learned. All right, let's talk about angels, and then we'll intertwine animals in this. Angels are my favorite topic. I love to talk about angels. I've always liked angels. I like pictures of angels. I like books about angels, always have since I was a little kid. So, these children see what they perceive are angels, okay? These are God's angels according to their parents. I looked at a psychological report recently that I wrote, and one of the things that I noted is how, one kid talked to me about animals, and how, again, I talked about this earlier, about how animals can, angels can push animals to, protect. There was another kid who talked about angels coming, into birds and, crows. Crows, the kids would typically say, are dark. We already know what dark means. Cardinals, angels, most birds, angelic, things like that. Angels is my favorite topic, and someone asked me, are God's angels real? It depends upon what you believe in. So your belief comes first. What kids have proved to me is that angels are real, and that some of them have the ability to see angels. Let me tell you a short little story. I think it was B in my blog. Child B was so happy to see angels around me and angels in my office. This was a place where Child B described as being very safe. And I remember saying I started seeing Child B in building 1. Building 2 is when Child B started to get frightened. And a lot of the kids started getting frightened in building 2. So I remember Child B, I said to this child, why do you see so many angels? Just out of curiosity, why are you so happy and you feel safe? Why are there so many angels? And I remember Child B said, because you asked for them to come in here, duh. And I was like, oh, I did ask God to protect us. And Child B said, that's why there's so many angels in here and they're outside, because you asked God to protect you. And so I remember looking at Child B's mother and, just to confirm this was true or not, because Child B's mother was able to see ghosts, and so was Child B's father. So a whole family of individuals who can see ghosts. So I said to the mother, is that what you see? And the mother's like, yep. The reason that there are so many angels around the floor, your office space, outside, is because you asked God to protect you. And God heard you. And I remember I asked for a prayer. And I can't quite remember, obviously, what the prayer was, but I remember one of the angels left, according to the mother. And I said, well, where did it go? I had a lot of questions, as you can imagine. And the mother said, to heaven. You just asked that. They acted like I was stupid, y'all. You just asked the angel you just prayed and asked the angel to take the message to God. That's where the angel went. And I was like, oh. Because see, I had to start thinking in terms of this stuff being true, right? So that was not the first time that I heard about God's angels. It wasn't the last time. And it was also not the first time when one, according to these families, would intercede on my behalf. So, in my opinion, based upon the information that I gathered and what I also believe in, are angels true? Absolutely. So, let me give you a description of what I was told my angel, the one who stands guard over me, again, according to what the kids have shared with me, all of them, looks like. She, female, is very tall. She has wings. She glows white. I have heard from many kids that she is stunning. And I said, ooh. She is stunning. She has long hair. As a matter of fact, she told some of the kids to tell me to stop cutting my hair off. The nerve of her. And when I asked why, Child B told me, she said, because when you go to heaven, you're supposed to look like them. Can you believe that? So I'm supposed to have long flowing hair. And you know what's so ironic about it? I had my hair short like the Halle Berry haircut for years, and then let it grow out a couple of times, cut it off in 2019, and it is down to my shoulders now, and I literally have no desire to cut it again. And I said, wow, I'm really getting old because I have no desire to cut my hair. And so allegedly, that's what this, I'm not going to say allegedly, that is what this kid told me that the angel said to about me. The angel in the tree is male, wears a suit. There's some black in it, I think, but white wings, glows white. Said that in time he will reveal himself to me. And I heard that several times. So the way that these angels are described is that they're very beautiful. And they do stand guard over all of us to protect us. The angel in the tree also rides on my car, follows me home, remains outside, does not come in, but the tall female angel comes in. All the kids describe them as being God's angels. They've always said they're angelic. They are beautiful. Now, can dark angels be beautiful? Yes. The difference is they're dark. They're black. They're black. They are fallen angels. Now, if you think about them being fallen angels, then you'll understand that they do look like angels. Now, can they change form according to the kids? Absolutely. They can change form. According to the parents, yes. Sometimes they can appear as monsters, and we've talked about that before. So can they be scary? Yes. But can they, make kids comfortable by being or by showing themselves in a manner that will make a kid feel comfortable? Yes. Sometimes are demons and angels, or dark angels and white angels in the same room? Absolutely. So there are a lot of different things that I learned. Someone asked, do you believe in angels? Yes, I do believe in angels. Do you have to be a Christian in order to believe in these things? And that's a good question, because people will typically discuss these things in reference to being a Christian. And I want to make note to all of you that I never said my religion. Remember that. I talk about all this stuff and I rarely give any personal information. So I've never said my religion, and I was about 20 years younger, and I never said what my religion was 20 years ago. So when you hear these stories, these are actually true stories about what kids have said to me, minus you knowing anything about my background regarding religion. So to answer that question directly, do you have to be a Christian in order to believe in ghosts? You do not. There are plenty of people who do not consider themselves an organized religion who have had these same experiences. If you really want to kind of prove to yourself whether or not these things are true or are they false, you should look at my page on Quora. If you have a Quora page, just look for me. I asked questions about kids seeing ghosts. I just asked one yesterday about people seeing angels. There are people all over the world who have this ability. And the reason I talk about these things other than personal is because a lady, one of the last comments I have, she said to me, she said, Dr. Lisa, I'm going to write my story now about how I'm able to see ghosts. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah. And another lady on Quora said that. And the lady on Quora said, you have given me the strength to feel more comfortable with telling the public about my ability. And that's exactly why I do it. I have a voice and I use it because too many individuals are diagnosed with mental illness when sometimes they have other abilities. And I promise these kids that I would talk about their abilities and their stories one day. So that's what I'm doing. So if you do have any questions, I want you to make sure that you ask them to me. Maybe once a month, I'm going to do a question and answer session because there are so many questions coming in. And I apologize if I couldn't get to your question, but I will. So if you want to give me a call, please do so. The number is 765-205-1959. Again, you can email me at kidscanseeghosts@gmail.com. You can also talk to me on Podbean during the live show. You can talk to me on Twitter at Dr. Lisa 1959. You can talk to me on Instagram. I take all questions and comments. You don't have to believe in these things in order to talk to me. All right, so thank you for joining me, and I hope you guys have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.